And then what we'll do is just have Kevin just out of order, just put in the left header.
Why wouldn't we?
You know, just.
Are we doing things one step at a time? What's the point of having 3 people working on the same thing if we're all just going to watch each other? This ain't government work, Sam.
Sam's Garage, presented by Hemsaw. Coming up on this episode of Sam's Garage, Sam and the Lokar Performance team install new headers and exhaust on the 68 Chevelle. Sam and Doug begin the process of removing the interior from the 57 Ford Thunderbird. Sam hooks up a French Jeep Wrangler with a new set of ball joints. And a classic 32 Ford Roadster gets some new rod ends from Rod End Supply. Kevin and Travis help Sam install the starter, headers, and exhaust system on the 68 Chevelle. The new headers and exhaust will ensure that this 376 cubic inch engine breathes with ease and sounds great.
We're ready for the next step here in our engine swap. We're going to be doing the headers and the exhaust system, but first we're going to put the starter in its position. Hopefully we can get to the crank position sensor, which is right next to the starter. We're not ready for the harness yet, so we're going to do that, keep the starter loose, and put on our headers.
Yeah, the way those headers come down, they're kind of tight. We got to index that starter, so we'll just have to get them in there and see. But I think it'll be okay.
We'll put the headers on, we'll hang the X pipe. We're not going to do the tailpipes yet because we have to do the fuel system, and then we're going to do the tailpipes once the tank is in.
This time we brought the V-band clamps, and since we're meeting in the middle, we might have to finagle that just a little bit to make sure it matches up and we can get them welded up.
Yep, let's do it. Headers going to go in from the bottom, right?
Yep.
Cool. It's time to go ahead and mock up the starter and the headers. We're going to put the starter in place, and then we're going to put the passenger header in place. We did this already before just to make sure that we can service the starter still and get to the crank position sensors connector, and we can. We've got our ARP bolts, the starter in. Check out these hooker headers. We got these from Summit Racing. They're really going to complement the pipes exhaust that we have, 3-inch all the way back. This is a completely raw stainless steel header. Now, you could take this and ceramic coat it. If you do that, you'll cut the heat down 50%. And then you can also take DEI titanium heat wrap and wrap each individual runner, making it look really good. And it's gonna last a long time because it's gonna protect the tubes. And if you ever have to change the spark plugs and the engine is hot, you can touch these with the heat wrap on and not burn yourself. Now, because these are stainless steel, please don't forget, you gotta wipe all your fingerprints off of these headers before you ever introduce heat from the engine to them, or you'll stain them forever. You'll never get the fingerprints out. All right, Travis, you got a stool?
I need one.
Guys, keep in mind when you're putting aftermarket gaskets on that there is an orientation. If you look at the factory gaskets, they actually tell you manifold side, and they say down. There's 2 holes in the middle. If you get these upside down or backwards, they aren't gonna line up. So save yourself the effort of having to start over.
We're using the REM Flex gaskets on this application, and they will only work if you use proper torque, which is light, which is only 20 foot-pounds. All right, we got the hooker headers installed on the engine. Now it's time to hook up the 3-inch pipes exhaust system. Now, they give us the hangers right here and all the clamps for us to be able to install this system. We're gonna start with this hanger that is designed to go right here on the rear part of the frame. We're gonna install that first, then we're gonna install the tailpipes and work our way forward. Because we have an LS engine in here, we have to adapt the LS engine to the rest of the pipes exhaust system. Do not skip this step. Protect that investment. If you don't get the fingerprints off, they're gonna burn into it and look really bad. Now this pipe system turned out really nice. 3-inch mandrel bent, polished stainless 304 steel. That is nice.
When we opened it, I thought, I didn't know they did the polish, but I mean, it came out really nice.
It did. And they've got the cutouts already incorporated in the midsection.
Yep.
For anyone who wants to install those. And it hooked up to the hooker headers very nicely.
Yeah.
This system is going to complement that 550 horsepower LS all day long.
I'm excited to see how these mufflers sound, actually.
Yeah, me too. And if you guys want to get Pipe's exhaust system, don't forget you can go to Summit Racing and pick them up.
Sam's Garage, presented by Hemsaw. Sam and Doug begin removing the interior from the '57 Ford Thunderbird. They plan to modernize the instrument cluster with new digital gauges. But before the new gauges can go in, the old ones must come out.
You know, Doug, we got lucky. This one's not going to require a full overhaul of the interior. Maybe a couple panels, clean up the bezels, new carpet because we're going to have to make a tunnel, but that's pretty much it seems.
Yeah, no, we were real fortunate on this one, Sam. You know, you take a look at the dash, you take a look at all of the bezels all the way around. This is not going to take much at all. We'll be able to clean up a lot. Some of it may have to go to the chrome shop, be re-chromed, but it's not going to be bad at all.
Yep, Doug and I, since we have to make a tunnel, we're going to make new carpet. The seats look really nice, but what we're going to do is redo the door panels and all the metal that you see on the dashboard and the panels themselves. This is going to get a Dakota Digital full electronic cluster, so we have to take apart the dash anyways. And then do a updated AC unit behind the dash. Looks like we have a lot of room, and this thing should be nice, but we do have to address the top.
Yeah, the top needs to be redone, and then what we'll do is I'm going to come back and through here, I'm going to polish everything out, and we'll take a look at it. But I really think if I just get in there and do a nice polish onto it, it'll look just fine for what we want.
I got my kick panel out. You can see the back is completely wet. It's pretty much gone, so as you can see, it's just cardboard. We're gonna have the upholsterer guy make a new backing, recover the front with the Thunderbird bird on it. We should be good to go. Doug is taking this out still right now.
As you can see, it has a metal piece all the way along it, and then it has metal clips that hold it in. You need to take your time with one of the pry bars and slowly work your way through to go ahead and get all of this out. But you can see the back, once again, same type of thing. It got wet, and it just really destroyed everything. Problem that you run into is this was built in '57, so you've got to kind of really think your way through it. How would they have put it together at that point in time? It's a lot different than they put a car together today, so you just have to look at it, think about it. And the biggest and most important thing is take your time. Take your time on what you're doing. Like we talked about, shoot pictures, use the bags, and just take your time. Just look at every little piece as you work your way through it. Don't get frustrated. Ah! All right, I'm fine now.
You got to disassemble this car to pretty up the aluminum bezels that are covering the fascia of the dashboard. So what I'm doing is removing every screw on the car to get the dashboard out.
Yeah, one thing that's real important when you get ready to dive into the dash section, do as much research as you possibly can. Like on this one on the '57 Thunderbird, go to forums, take a look at what people have done before you. It'll make your job a lot easier, because really when you get into it, if you don't, then you're going to jump into Pandora's box. And what I mean by that is you're going to be removing things that you may not have to remove, and everything that you take out, you're going to have to put back in. And it's a lot easier to remove it than it is to put it back in. So research, research, research. Do as much prep as you possibly can, and then everything will go reasonably smooth. But remember, there's no guarantee. All right, when you're removing the steering shaft, just remember as you're pulling it out, it all goes to a spline shaft right here. And it just takes a while. Just take your time as you're just going ahead and you're pulling it out. You've got to go ahead and loosen your coupling, and then you're able to go ahead and remove it.
Doug and I wanted to do the bezels right here on the dashboard, and we got all the pieces off, but this one goes around the instrument cluster. You have to remove the whole dashboard to get off. But we didn't do that. We were able to dissect it and save us a bunch of time.
Yeah, it was an awful lot of work, Sam. You know, we've accomplished an awful lot in the last day and a half. And the thing for all you guys at home, just remember, when you get frustrated, walk away for a little bit.
Come back with a fresh head and you'll be able to tackle that job a lot better and get whatever you need done. I can't tell you guys how many times I've come across a battery that shows 0 voltage, but it's still good. You left the door open or a glove box, it'll kill it. This intelligent jump starter and this intelligent charger, they do a good job in most cases, but when you're in that situation where you got a 0 voltage, they're not gonna work for you. They're gonna think the battery is not even there and you haven't even connected to it. But this old school battery jump box, as you can see, I've used it a lot. It's broken, but it still works perfectly fine. You can actually use this as a supplement battery on a car you're trying to diagnose that may not have a battery in it. This one will not allow you to do that. That old school charger right there with 0 voltage on your battery, it'll still connect and charge the battery. Whereas this guy, it's so intelligent, it thinks it's completely dead and tells you to buy a new one. So the intelligent ones are very nice to have for peace of mind reasons in some cases, but if you're a technician, it's gonna cost you heartache and money.
Now back to more Sam's Garage. Sam helps upgrade the ball joints in a friend's Jeep Wrangler. The Jeep has been off-roading a few times, and the factory ball joints need to be replaced. Mevotech has the solution. With their patented technology, the new ball joints will ensure this Jeep stays out on the trails.
I am so proud of Jay. When I had this Jeep, all I did was crawl around malls with it. But after I sold it to Jay, it looks like he's actually gone off-road. Not only has he put miles on it, but he's gone off-road, and what did he do? He damaged the factory Wrangler ball joints. These things are notorious for having weak ball joints. Actually, a lot of people, if they know they're going to be doing heavy off-roading or they're going to be adding suspensions to their Jeep, they're going to go ahead and replace their ball joints, even if the Jeep has no miles on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install Mevotech ball joints. With their patented technology, they far exceed any other ball joint out there for the Wranglers. Now, what I'm going to use is going to be a ball joint installation tool. Now, you can get these tools at your local hardware store. They rent them to you. You will have to purchase it, but when you bring it back with no damage, they're just going to give you your money back. This makes life a whole lot easier. Mevotech's front upper ball joints internal features have a snap-in bearing technology. This is a patented technology that Mevotech came up with. The Mevotech's patented solution design allows for continuous and exact pin realignment through the pivoting motion, preventing binding or memory steer. This is a telescoping ball joint. Ball stud will articulate up and down and side to side. This is normal operation. The final position will be set after installation. Ball stud and housing are coated with exclusive Repel-Tech formulation for tough anti-corrosion protection. The lower ball joint is equipped with a flush-style grease fitting. The TTX front lower ball joint is ultra strong and longer lasting due to the patented dynamic control bearing. An innovative recess is incorporated into the self-lubricating centered metal bearing as a secure base for the spring disc to be precisely placed. TTX Integrity Boot uses multi-lip profile to keep contaminants out. Dust Boot is integrated to assembly, improving strength and durability. Included in the box is an installation adapter which makes pressing the ball joint into the knuckle very simple. It features a grade 12 coated nut with a pre-applied thread locking compound. Also equipped with an easy snap cotter pin for easy install. Simply slide it in and click. Reinstalling the hub. Be very sure, walk it back in. There's going to be 3 bolts that hold it in place, so you want to make sure that when you're putting these 3 bolts in, that you don't bind the hub by tightening one of them and then going back and trying to tighten the other 2. There's a snap ring inside the differential that's going to lock the axle in place. You're going to have to use some force. First, you want to make sure that axle is so long that it's going to want to fall on you. So get something to pry it up and keep it straight. Put it in the spline of the yoke of the differential first. Turn it, making sure your drive shaft moves. Then you know you're at least lined up with the splines. Take your nut, put it at the end of your axle, put it flush with the axle. Then you can take your hammer and use that, very lightly tapping on it and getting the snap ring locked up, and you won't damage the threads, you won't damage the end of your axle, and you can reuse everything just like I am right now. Now don't forget to torque down those wheels, especially when you're dealing with something that heavy, 125 foot-pounds minimum. Now that installation ring made this job so much better. Ball joints aren't the easiest thing to replace, but with the installation ring, the damage from the tool stays on this and doesn't transfer over to the joint, making installation awesome. Now, Mevotech is known for solving problems on suspension components. As you can see, the ball joints on this 40,000-mile Jeep Wrangler, the top one was completely stiff, the bottom one was completely loose. The new ones from Mevotech are going to solve those problems, and and they're gonna last a long time as well. Now, they've also got solutions for, like, let's say your Dodge Caravan. So if you guys got problems and you wanna nip it in the bud, make sure to check out Mevotech.
Sam's Garage, presented by Hemsaw. Bob from Rod End Supply stops by the garage to help Sam replace some of the worn-out bushings on a friend's 32 Ford Roadster. The owner of this Roadster frequently drives to car shows. The new rod ends will make sure that this car always arrives in style.
I got my good friend Michael's 32 Ford Roadster in the shop. This is an all-steel car. It's got 48,000 miles on it, and he drives it to every car show that he attends as far as Miami. So it's got a lot of your parts on this car, right?
Absolutely.
But there's a couple that we need to replace as far as the 4-link bars go. Now, why would we go from a bushing to a rod end in this case?
4-bar end does a very good job. But if you want to drive it a little more competitive, maybe on a road course, which a lot of the street riders do, maybe put some bigger tires on it and go drag race with them. After a while, the 4-bar ends will wear just a little bit, so you may get a little rear end steer out of it. It wants to move around. A rod end will be a more stable unit for it, and you won't get that rear steer out of it.
That's awesome. He's really going to like it. And then we'll go through the rest of the suspension, and you put your eyes on it and see if there's anything else that may need to be addressed. Because like I said, almost 50,000 miles on this thing.
Absolutely.
We want him to be nice and safe when he's out on the road.
Yes, sir.
As you can see, I got a lot of jack stands here because I'm going to be taking the arm off the car, and we want to make sure to be completely safe. So I got tripods in the back on the frame so I can access my lower bars. And I got one more in the front just to be safe so we don't have this going on. And Bob and I can work under here nice and safe, not worry about anything. Okay, so what are you doing there, Bob?
Well, I'm measuring the center to center distance, so when we screw the rod end back in, we don't have to worry about this thing being out of alignment. From what it appears to be is 27 7/8.
There you go.
Also, too, I noticed that these particular 4-bar ends are not ours, because our 4-bar ends have the stainless sleeves and these are not. These are zinc-plated steel. And normally the zinc-plated steel has a tendency to rust and corrode, and so trying to get the bolts out is very difficult to do.
27 3/4.
It's done.
We're ready to put this guy back in?
Yep.
We'll get the hardware. You want to put a little bit of anti-seize on the bolt going through the bushing, correct? Because you want to make sure that we don't gall this anymore.
Yeah, because it's already in that mode, so we don't want to do that.
So what we'll do is we'll put some here where the shoulder is and here where the ends of the threads are.
These are high misalignment spacers.
And what are they going to do for us here?
Okay, we have to accommodate the width that we have here. The rod end is not nearly as wide. What we do is these high misalignment spacers, and by the way, these are stainless steel. The rod end is 4130 chromoly steel that's heat treated. And it's got a red injection nylon-fiber material in it, so you don't lubricate them, you don't clean them, you just kind of put them on and forget about it. Yeah.
When you say forget about it, do they pretty much last a lifetime, or do they have a mileage that they start to wear out?
We've got some joints that's been running on some off-road vehicles, and I've got guys that get 1,200 miles out of them before they change them. And we're talking race vehicles, not just off-road. These are race
Are they
vehicles.
changing them just for safety measure, or they're seeing play?
No, they're starting to get loose, and they're getting some play out of them. But there's some guys that they'll go out on a 250-mile run, and they come back, and they're already loose. Ours doesn't do that, but some of them with the Teflon liners do. And it depends on the quality of the part and how tight the Teflon liner is in the very beginning.
Right.
Because for a Teflon liner in an application to really stand up, the Teflon liner that's in the rod end itself, you cannot move the ball.
Well, I think we did a good job, Bob. Everything's installed. We got the rack back in place. When we come back, join us next week. Don't forget, we're going to go through the parts and show you guys exactly the differences between rod ends and who they supply to.